Did you know that over 1.4 billion international tourist arrivals were recorded globally before the pandemic hit? Imagine the myriad of interactions. As we traverse the globe, each encounter with a new culture adds a layer to our understanding of the world, yet not all interactions are smiles and warm welcomes. Today we're peeling back the layers on cultural perceptions and how they shape our travel experiences. With so many cultures mixing, it's bound to get a bit bumpy. Let's dive into which countries have gained a surprising reputation. Starting our countdown at number 10, we land in the beautiful Italy. Picture the winding streets of Rome and the stylish avenues of Milan, where the past and present fuse in an exhilarating display of culture. Italy enchants with its undying history and mouth-watering cuisine. From the ruins of ancient empires to the steamy espresso cups at quaint cafes, every corner tells a story. However, some visitors might tell you about their experiences of what seems like a slightly brusque local demeanor. It's not uncommon to hear travelers recount tales of hurried waiters or impassive shopkeepers, particularly in the country's bustling urban hearts. But consider this. Could it be a simple case of cultural misinterpretation? Italians are known for their expressive communication style. Gestures, volume, and directness are all part of the package. It's an authenticity that doesn't always translate smoothly across every culture. While it might be the language barrier or just a cultural misunderstanding, Italy's charm is undeniable. At number 9, it's France, the land of romance and fine dining. However, beneath the shimmering surface of this beloved destination, there's a paradox that often catches visitors off guard. France, particularly Paris, is renowned worldwide for its breathtaking sights and culinary delights. Yet many travelers recount experiences where the service might not match the scenery. In cafes along the Seine or the bustling bistros of Montmartre, it's not uncommon to encounter what some describe as indifference or even a frosty reception from service staff. This facade of aloofness, often perceived by tourists, isn't necessarily rudeness, but perhaps a cultural misunderstanding. In French culture, privacy and discretion are highly valued, which might translate to less overt warmth in interactions, especially in more cosmopolitan areas like Paris. Moreover, the language barrier can sometimes amplify these misunderstandings, with a simple miscommunication coming off as standoffish. Engaging with locals using basic French phrases can sometimes bridge this gap, showing respect and effort that is often appreciated. Remember, a smile goes a long way, even in the City of Lights. Moving to the east, Russia takes the 8th spot. In this vast and storied land, visitors often encounter what might seem like a cold reception. The Russian language, with its Cyrillic alphabet and complex grammar, forms a formidable barrier, making even simple interactions daunting for travelers. Additionally, the Russian demeanor is generally serious. Smiles are reserved for friends and family, not strangers. In Russia, small talk is not the norm. This can make interactions seem blunt or even rude to those from more effusive cultures. It's a place where time is money is taken quite literally, especially in bustling cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. Yet, this seriousness is often a mask of professionalism and efficiency rather than unfriendliness. Culturally, Russians are incredibly proud and passionate about their heritage. From the opulent palaces of the czars to the austere beauty of Siberian landscapes, the country is a treasure trove of history and art. But don't let that stoic face fool you. The cultural depth in Russia is truly mesmerizing. Back to the west, the United Kingdom ranks 7th. Exploring the nuances of British culture reveals that what might sometimes be perceived as rudeness is often just a manifestation of traditional British politeness. This formality, characterized by a certain reserve and the famous stiff upper lip, can sometimes come off as stiffness or aloofness to those unfamiliar with the local customs. In the bustling cities like London, Manchester, or Edinburgh, the pace is fast, and the streets are often crowded. Here, the locals, while navigating their daily routines, might not always stop to offer a smile or engage in small talk, which can be mistaken for unfriendliness by visitors. Moreover, the British sense of humor, which is famously dry and full of irony, might not always land well with those who aren't used to it, adding another layer to the cultural misunderstandings. Yet the UK continues to be a top destination with its undeniable charm and history. At number 6, we have Germany. Known for its formidable efficiency and a robust economy, Germany's approach to communication often mirrors these traits, direct and to the point. This German directness, while highly effective in business and daily life, can sometimes come across as brusque or even rude to those unaccustomed to such straightforwardness. In Germany, time is a precious commodity, and it's not uncommon for conversations to skip the small talk and dive straight into the matter at hand. This efficiency-driven communication style is deeply ingrained in the culture, and is often appreciated within the country for its clarity and directness. However, visitors might find this approach somewhat cold or impersonal. Moreover, the German emphasis on punctuality and order can sometimes add to this perception. Being late is often seen as a sign of disrespect, and adherence to rules is expected to be strict, which might be interpreted as inflexibility or harshness by outsiders. Efficiency is key in Germany, and sometimes that leaves little room for pleasantries. Halfway through at number 5, it's China. In this vast country, the bustling streets and crowded markets are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to cultural shock. Here, the concept of personal space differs vastly from many Western norms. It's not unusual in China to find yourself in a cozy proximity with strangers, whether it's in a subway, a bus, or a local market. This can certainly come off as rude to those unaccustomed to such closeness. Public behavior in China also presents its own set of surprises. The directness in communication, often perceived as brusqueness, can be startling. It's not rudeness, but rather a cultural norm where being straightforward is valued over pleasantries. Additionally, practices like spitting on the street, while frowned upon in many other cultures, are more accepted in China, though the government has been making efforts to curb such behaviors, especially in urban areas. Navigating the cultural maze in China is part of the adventure. Surprise entry at number 4, Canada, often seen as friendly, also has its moments. When you think of Canada, images of welcoming smiles and polite greetings might spring to mind. However, not every interaction in the Great North is a nod to these pleasant stereotypes. In bustling cities like Toronto and Vancouver, the rapid pace can sometimes leave little room for the fabled Canadian kindness. Visitors have reported instances where the usually commendable Canadian patience seems to wear thin. During peak hours in urban centers, tourists might find themselves brushed aside or met with responses that are more brusque than they are warm. Survey reports underscore these experiences, pointing out that while rudeness isn't the norm, it's not entirely absent either. Interestingly, this isn't a reflection of Canadians' nature, but perhaps a side effect of the modern, fast-paced urban environment, which can occasionally make even the friendliest citizens seem distant. It's a contrast to the usually warm Canadian stereotype. At number 3, South Korea, where rapid modernization meets traditional norms. In the heart of East Asia, South Korea presents a unique canvas where skyscrapers and high-tech subways coexist with historic palaces and temples. However, the cultural concept of kibun, or maintaining a positive public face and pride, plays a pivotal role in everyday interactions. This deep-seated value can sometimes lead to misunderstandings with visitors. Kibun is about respecting someone's feelings and doing nothing to cause them to lose face. For locals, it's a way to ensure harmony and social balance. However, foreigners might interpret this indirect communication as aloofness or, ironically, rudeness. For instance, a Korean may avoid giving a direct no to a request, opting instead for a vague response that can seem dismissive. Moreover, the Korean emphasis on hierarchy and age can add another layer of complexity in social interactions, often perplexing those unfamiliar with these norms. South Korea's blend of old and new makes it an endlessly fascinating place. Just missing the top spot, the United States stands at number 2. In this vast country, the directness and assertiveness often displayed in communication can be surprising to visitors. Americans, known for their candidness, may approach conversations with a straightforwardness that some might interpret as brusqueness. The concept of time is treated with utmost respect in the United States, often leading to interactions that are efficient but perhaps perceived as impersonal. This can be especially apparent in bustling cities like New York or Los Angeles, where the pace of life accelerates the need for brevity in daily exchanges. Furthermore, the United States' emphasis on individualism is reflected in its social interactions. This can sometimes come off as self-centeredness, particularly in contrast to cultures that value community and collectivism more highly. Despite these perceptions, it's crucial to understand the diversity within American society. Each region has its own unique communication style, influenced by a rich tapestry of cultural backgrounds. The U.S. is a melting pot of cultures, each with its own set of norms. And the title for the rudest country according to our list goes to Australia. Often perceived as blunt, the typical Aussie demeanor is a unique blend of straightforwardness and a no-nonsense attitude. This distinctive style, deeply ingrained in the Australian ethos, is a product of the country's laid-back approach to life. Visitors might initially be taken aback by what seems like a brusque nature. In Australia, it's not uncommon for people to speak their minds freely and engage in banter that can sometimes appear harsh to the unacquainted. This directness is particularly evident in the Australian sense of humor, which is famously dry and often laced with irony and sarcasm. However, it's crucial to understand the context of this behavior. What might seem rude is often just a form of camaraderie and openness among Aussies. They tend to value sincerity and dislike pretentiousness, choosing to communicate in a way that is genuine, even if it's a bit rough around the edges. But don't be fooled. Australians' upfront style often hides a warm, welcoming heart. That wraps up our tour of the top 10 rudest countries. It's important to remember that what might seem rude to one person can simply be a normal way of interaction in another culture. These perceptions of rudeness are often rooted in cultural differences and misunderstandings rather than genuine discourtesy. When traveling, keeping an open mind and a willingness to learn about and adapt to local customs can transform your experience. Travel broadens the mind and sometimes challenges it too. Embrace the journey and you'll find beauty in the diversity of our world.